Hurricanes create an atmosphere of chaos. That is the question that we are asking tonight after a 6-year-old child was molested in a hurricane shelter in Florida. Witnesses say a 60-year-old homeless man touched the victim under her clothes, which he admitted to, but said it wasn't in a lewd manner. He was later arrested. This happened at a middle school being used as a hurricane shelter in Florida. 11 Alive's Hope Ford looked into this horrifying trend of natural disasters creating a spike in sexual violence.
I grew up in Louisiana, and I was there when Hurricanes Rita and Katrina hit. I remember the devastation, and I also remember the stories of people being raped and molested in shelters.
In 2005, rape crisis centers received over 100 sexual assault-related calls following Katrina. 30% of them happened in a shelter, 38% of attackers were strangers, 36% of the victims were between the ages of 15 and 24. It was so bad, the National Sexual Violence Resource Center developed a guide for preventing sexual assaults. The guide reveals the most vulnerable, like the homeless, people suffering with mental illness and substance abuse, and people living in poverty are often left behind. Shelters can quickly become overcrowded, with registered sex offenders and families sometimes housed in the same building. And a lack of resources kept victims from receiving medical care or even reporting the crime. A national protocol was established after Katrina, instructing shelters to have information on how to report a crime, closing off areas in the shelter where a sexual assault could occur, and making sure a forensic examiner, security, and trained volunteers are on site, along with rape kits. A representative with the Louisiana Foundation Against Sexual Assault says it's getting better, but adds the protocols in place are only as good as the institutions running the shelters and implementing guidelines. But the rule remains for many shelters that people can't be turned away during an evacuation.
A national disaster relief fund for sexual assault victims aims to provide state organizations with donations to help victims during and after a natural disaster. And that information can be found on our website, 11alive.com.